Howard Cox is here with us. He's going to talk about the front page of the Times today, which is his story. Petrol firm profiteers fail to pass on duty cut, right? Do you remember when Rishi Sunak said he was going to give us 5p off a litre? Do you remember that? And we said at the time, well, that won't make any difference. Some people actually put the price up. I've got a tweet here from Toon who says the local Asda was 159.7 10 days ago for unleaded. Today it's 165.7. How does that work? Something needs to happen to reduce the price. Howard will tell us why that's happening and exactly what is going on out there. So you can tell us, as you always do, what prices you're seeing. I remember the most expensive place I think we managed to highlight was somewhere in Chelsea in London when we were looking at this all those weeks ago. But to be honest, the wholesale price has gone down. So we should surely be seeing a reduction in the price of fuel at the pumps. It's going up and up and up, and it's not sustainable. And Howard Cox is here. Howard, a very good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Sorry, I should say good afternoon.
Good afternoon, yeah.
I should say that, shouldn't I? See, I go all to that trouble and forget that it's the afternoon. It's the hottest day of the year. How hot is it out there? Is it nice?
It's very, very warm indeed. They had to get, for the makeup, they had to get rid of all the sweat.
Yeah, well, I didn't stop sweating until about 11:15, which is unfortunately 45 minutes into the show. But this is unbelievable, isn't it? You and I have been talking about the price of fuel, the green agenda, all sorts for a very, very long time, and it's not getting any cheaper, is it?
No, it's not. And here we go again. The fuel supply chain are ripping off motorists, and the government are allowing them to do it. It's ridiculous. And this is one of the latest things that are happening is, that diesel is 15 pence more than petrol at the moment currently. And yet today I looked at the wholesale price before I came up here on the train to see you. It's 7p less than petrol. Right. So you're looking at a 22p difference in terms of the...
And who sets that price?
Good question. This is this wonderful thing, this opaque process. And we've been calling for, I don't know how many, I've been on your show many times calling for this, and people like Robert Halfon MP and Craig McKinley MP, we want a body called Pump Watch. Yes. We need a independent regulator. At the moment, we would like it to be voluntary so that people actually would adhere to it. But I'm afraid it's getting to the stage now we should force it, like a windfall tax.
Presumably... each individual sort of petrol station can set their own price, can they?
Well, it depends on how they're actually contracted. If it's a Shell garage, it could be they're contracted to sell Shell petrol and diesel, but is it owned by Shell or is it owned by who's licensed?
I'm assuming a lot of them are franchises.
Well, exactly, it's a combination of all those sorts of things. Right. They are tied by the wholesalers. It's not the retailers. Please, your listeners and your viewers, do not blame the retailers. Most of them are actually still on low margins. Right. It's further up the fuel supply chain, Mike. And as you know, these oil companies like BP and Shell, their CEOs are on £25 million worth of dividends.
Also, we keep hearing about how many billions of pounds in profit they've been making. I mean, 13 billion, I think Shell was, and 11 billion Aramco or something like that. I mean, it's quite unbelievable that they're all just sitting on this massive wealth fund, effectively, and saying, well, of course, there's nothing we can do because the prices just keep going up. Well, they set the price. I mean, they set the wholesale market price, don't they?
Well, they do.
Pretty
they
much.
don't. But most of the wholesalers are actually linked very closely to the major brands. Yeah. Obviously, that's great. But the interesting thing about the whole thing about the oil companies themselves is that it's nothing to do with their skill in terms of actually making that profit. They've been fortunate to get, because of a geopolitical issue, that major problem in Ukraine and Russia, they've been fortunate to get a massive oil price hike, and it's been lucky. Yes. It's nothing to do with their skill, and they're wallowing in a huge amount of money at the moment in terms of profit.
But even before that price hike, I mean, the price was still pretty high, wasn't it? Because, we keep harkening back to the last sort of fuel crisis, if you like, back in sort of 2006-07, and when the wholesale price was actually higher, I think, than it is now, and yet the petrol price at the pumps was lower.
And there goes the same. That's the biggest argument to have a body like Pump Watch. Yeah. We've got to have that body, and we need it soon. Unfortunately, the government, don't forget, they're wallowing a shed load of VAT because of the high prices too. And they could actually bring...
And they're maybe addicted to that.
Well, I'm afraid they are. Why are they scared to take on oil companies and say, we need to know how you price your fuel? You've got to be more transparent, more fair. Yeah. It's ruining businesses. Yeah. It's ruining the haulage industry, the logistics industry particularly. I'm backed by the Road Haulage Association, and they are crying out for another cut in fuel duty. Not just 1 penny or 2 penny. As you mentioned just now, the 5p cut we got in the spring statement has not been passed on. The RAC...
Well, even if it was a minuscule amount compared to what you were actually paying.
Well, we're now calling for a 20p cut. I'm working quite closely with people like Richard Tice, for example. You're on the Sunday show. He's got another show. I'm on it once a month to talk about motoring and driving issues. And he's saying, why don't we have a 20p cut in fuel duty? He's dead right. Yeah. It won't hurt the government, but it will help in the cost of living crisis.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, I suppose, if the government were to take this view that they're going to start going after oil companies, there will be people in the Tory party who say, well, that's not very conservative because you're supposed to believe in free markets. Well, free markets are all very well, providing that they're properly regulated. You can't just have a sort of massive free-for-all. I mean, we saw that story on the front of the Sun a few weeks ago where somebody nicked a load of diesel from a Royal Navy dockyard. And you go, well, if you can't protect... I mean, what chance have we got winning a war if somebody's nicking the diesel? But it won't be long before people are siphoning petrol out of each other's tanks.
Well, I'm a One Nation Tory, and it goes against every part of my soul and my body to actually penalise success. Yeah. But this is not success due to their skill. It's success because they've been lucky.
No, this is price gouging, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. You've got it spot on.
That's precisely what it is. Because if you go to almost any other country in the world, we will not be... by any means, maybe the most expensive, but we'll certainly be close to the most expensive country in the world for fuel.
Yeah, I mean, Scandinavia is probably more expensive, but we're still up there in the top 3 highest taxed in the world, even with that 5p cut.
Yes.
And it should have been 6p cut because there's a VAT on top of that. And that's the immoral thing.
Yeah.
Mike,
well, just remind everyone how much of, say, the 157 or 165 that person is paying for a litre, how much of that is tax?
It's about 45% now.
Right.
It has dropped below the 50%.
So nearly a half.
Yeah. It used to be in the days, if we talk about when fuel was about 120, it's 60 to 70%.
Was it?
Yeah, because fuel duty's fixed. It was at 57.95p per litre.
Oh, OK, so it doesn't grow.
No, it
well,
stays
they missed
the same.
a trick there, didn't they?
Well,
can't believe they've let that go.
No,
hey?
No, but they've cut it to 52.95, which is very great.
Well, thanks a lot.
Well, I won that with working with people like we got 50 MPs to sign, and we sent a letter to Boris Johnson to actually call for that 5p cut, and we were delighted with that. But we thought it would be that. Then on that day, it would cut straight away. No one, and I've got 1.7 million supporters. No one has told me that they've seen 6p off in the same day. No one.
No. And so basically people are spending an awful lot more money now every time they fill up. And at what point did diesel become more expensive than petrol? Because it used to be the other way around.
Well, it happened when we were told that we should be driving diesel. Do you remember those days?
I do remember those days. That was our good friend, Mr. Ed Miliband, wasn't it? Who was told by Gordon Brown to tell everybody that diesel was the way forward. Yeah,
and that's what's happened. And they said, oh, hang on a second, we can make some money out of this because everyone's buying diesel cars.
Right.
But diesel is actually quite clean. Euro 6 diesels are very, very clean. And all the green people and environmentalists that I get absolutely trolled by, they should wake up and realise that actually we should be moving to technology that's clean, not being forced into one type of vehicle, like electric vehicles.
Well, and what we know about electric vehicles is, as we are now seeing on a regular basis, there's not enough charge points, there's not enough electricity. And what happens when electricity is as expensive as it is now? You know, how much is it going to cost you to charge your car?
Well, I got a tweet on the way up here on the train to see you, and from this rather... Well, I won't say how I describe him, but he simply said, well, you should be pushing electric vehicles. There's no tax on it. There's no problems with it. No congestion charge, no ultra-low emission zone. None of that happens. I said, hang on a second. Do you think the government will let that happen and stay like that?
No.
When we move all over to electric vehicles, all 37 million of us, what's going to happen to the national grid?
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen to the tax and income revenue stream for the HMRC as well? How about this? I don't know if you spotted this story. I spotted it this morning. It's actually from a couple of days ago. London's traffic has been ranked as the worst in the world. Well done, Sadiq Khan. So
in terms of congestion,
London is at the top of the list of the world's most congested cities. So we've beaten Sao Paulo, which is probably awful, right? Because I've been told, I remember when the World Cup was there, the guys from talkSport were telling me it took about 4 hours to get across town because it was one permanent. But it's worse than Sao Paulo now, worse than Tokyo, worse than Bangkok, worse than any other city in the world, worse than New York, which is pretty bad now as well.
But at least the London Mayor's allows you to, have some cannabis while you're driving, I suppose.
Turns out it's the guy in front just smoking in the car. I mean, they're already doing it. So it's not as if it's a criminal offence, It's absolutely extraordinary. But, when is this madness going to end? Because we just can't keep paying all this money. The cost of old, second-hand cars is now going through the roof as well. What's that all about?
Well, it's simply because they're more available than new cars, because of the chip problem and all sorts of things.
Yeah, but hang on. I did economics at university, right?
Scott.
The more the supply is, the less the prices, surely. Well, how's that changed?
But, Mike, you've got a brain on you. I mean, when was the last time you spoke to a politician that's got a brain on them?
Well, no, it's a very long time ago, that. But, so if the supply if there's oversupply, the price should come down. So unless they're gouging us. Oh, they must be gouging us.
I think one of the biggest things is there isn't a long-term road transport policy. They haven't worked out everything. You're talking about all the cities, they're jumping on the bandwagon. There's £33 million worth of fines gone to people going into low-traffic networks.
Yeah.
Well, where's that money going? Is it ring-fenced to help with the cost of living? No.
Where's all the congestion charge money going?
Well, it goes into to pay off the massive hole and deficit.
I see, by the way, that they've opened up Crossrail today. The Queen's actually opened Crossrail, right? But They haven't really opened it, because if you listen to my conversation with Simon Calder a few weeks ago, they've only opened bits of it, and huge portions of it aren't open at all. Bond Street Station, for example, is not open for some god-awful reason. Anything, I think, east of Stratford is not open, and they haven't sorted out the Heathrow Express line yet. They're not quite sure what they're doing with that. They're claiming that that's open, but that's actually the Heathrow Express, which I think is currently closed.
Well, most of the people around the country don't give a damn about London. There's people they don't have good public transport whatsoever.
No.
And they have to rely on their car to do all the things they have to do, like go to work, go to college, go whatever.
Yeah.
And these are the things. And this government has got to wake up and realise that the commercial heartbeat of any economy is its road transport.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's all very well saying, we can work from home. Well, how do you think the food gets to the supermarket? How do you think, the Amazon truck gets to your house? How do you think, people get to hospital? People need transport. People need to be able to use the roads with a reasonable amount of sort of surety that they're going to get from point A to point B in less than about 2 days.
Well, the cost of living crisis is the thing that matters to everyone. We've just done a survey, and something like 50,000 responded, and the top of the list was solve the cost of living crisis. And guess what? Cut fuel duty and have pump watch.
Yeah.
That means it will control prices. Currently, pump prices are 20 pence more than they should be.
Shocking state of affairs. Howard, good to see you. Thank you very much.